If you're new here, my name is Maria Bermudez and I'm a disability attorney. Today we're going to be talking about understanding benefit start dates, back pay, and the payment differences between Social Security disability insurance benefits and SSI. So let's start with your alleged onset date versus your application date. There is a difference between SSDI and SSI benefit because while the medical requirements of the disability program are the same for SSD versus SSI, the technical requirements for eligibility and how back pay is paid and when back pay is paid is different for SSD versus SSI. So let's get into it a little bit more detailed. So alleged onset date versus application date. Your alleged onset date is the day that you tell Social Security you became disabled. Sometimes this correlates with the day that you stopped working. Sometimes this is the day of an accident. It could be the day you're diagnosed with an illness. It could be whatever day that you became unable to work or disabled according to Social Security's 5-step sequential evaluation process. That's your disability date versus your application date, the day that you actually applied for benefits. Now, this is really important because it impacts when you're going to be found eligible for your back pay, when your back pay starts, under which program. Another foundational thing. For SSD, your benefit amount is based on your work credits and your work history. SSD is the insured benefit. This is like, think W-2 income, you're paying into Social Security disability insurance benefits. You can get up to, I believe it's $3,800 a month for SSDI benefits. You can also get a benefit for your children as well. Sometimes it's half your benefit amount. So say you're getting $3,000 a month for your primary benefit because you worked and you paid into the system and you have minor children, they may be able to get up to $1,500 a month. So that's the insured benefit. It's very important to know what you're eligible for when you apply for disability benefits with Social Security. For SSI, it's a different program. That's not the program where you paid into the system. SSI, even kids are eligible for. So SSI is for people who have a low income and low assets, and they are found to be disabled. Under that benefit program, you do not need to have work credits most of the time if you're a United States citizen. For SSI, the amount is federally capped, so it's going to be the same for everyone. This year, it's $943. Changes every year, too. There's cost of living adjustments as well. So for SSI, the benefit amount also can change based on if you have income versus with SSD, if you're working a little bit part-time within the limits, right? It's not going to affect your benefit amount. For SSI, it is. So if you're working part-time, they're going to reduce your benefit amount. Also, if you're living with someone who's subsidizing your living expenses, they can reduce your benefit amount. So think like you're 36 years old, you live with your parents are paying for, your room and board. They'll lower your benefit amount because of that. Okay? So that's SSI. That's because it's a needs-based program. We call it like a welfare benefit. So calculating back pay. How do we calculate back pay? So the best way to explain this for me would be to kind of give you some examples. So for SSD, there's something that's really important that you have to keep in mind. For SSD, there's a 5-month waiting period. So if you became disabled on January 15th of 2022, right? Say you got in an accident, January 15th, 2022, and that's when you became disabled. You and Social Security agrees with you, and they want to award you back pay. You're not going to be eligible for 5 months. So February, March, April, May, June, July will be your first benefit month. Okay? So for SSD, that's only applies to SSD, there's a 5-month waiting period. For SSI, there is no 5-month waiting period. But your filing date is very important. Actually, for both, it's very important. So how do we calculate the back pay for SSI? So for SSI, it depends on your filing date. You're not going to get before your filing date. So if you applied for benefits on February 3rd, March 3rd would be your first back pay month, your first benefit eligible, or March of that month. All right. So if you applied for benefits on March 3rd of 2022, then April would be your first benefit month. So you're not going to get back pay for the months prior to like you could with SSD. For SSI, it's the month after that you file. If you file for the first of the month, you're eligible for benefits on that month. So if you filed for benefits for SSI on March 1st, 2022, then March would be your first benefit month. So let's talk about the filing date when it comes to SSD. So you can get benefits for up to a year prior to your filing date. So it can get a little bit confusing because you can get, a decent amount of back pay depending on when your alleged onset date is, but you're only going to get a year prior to your filing. That doesn't mean you're going to get 5 years of back pay. You only can get up to a year prior to your filing. All right, so let's talk about how back pay is paid. Back pay is paid for Social Security, disability insurance benefits, and one lump sum. So you could have 2 years of back pay, depends on how long your disability process was. You can get paid in one lump sum for your SSD. For SSI, when you get awarded benefits, you're only going to get, if your back pay is significant, say you have $10,000 in back pay, they give it to you in increments. So you'll first get $2,000, and then in 6 months you'll get another $2,000, and then 6 months later you'll get the balance. Now, if you're going through a serious housing situation or your utilities are getting cut off or something like that, and you provide proof to Social Security, there are ways that you can get your back pay early, but generally speaking, it's $2,000 balance every 6 months. So what are the key points? The key points are that for SSD, back pay is based on work credits. For SSI, for SSD, your benefit amount is based on your work credits and your work history. For SSI, it's a federally set benefit amount. For SSD, there's a 5-month waiting period after your disability date before you're eligible for a benefit. For SSI, you're eligible for a benefit the month after you apply. For SSD, you can only get a year prior. It doesn't matter when your onset date is. You can only get a year prior to your filing date. For SSI, your benefit amount can be reduced for income or based on your living situation if someone's subsidizing your room and board. So I hope that you found this information helpful. My name is Maria Bermudez. I am an attorney with Disability Advocacy Group.